Hey everybody, welcome back to your favorite media response show. It's a Sunday night. We're here to talk Drag Race, the season 17 second premiere part episode thing. Yeah, you guys get it. NICO action, NICO
TK accidental.
And I am Tori at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
Hey everyone, it's Jonah. You can follow me at Peak Jonah.
That makes me your producer, KEVO. You can follow me at KEVO Really. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we know what you want us to cover in the future. We did a Rivals live play on Friday. That was a lot of fun. We covered Traitors Season 3 yesterday. And we're here to talk more reality. Our staple has returned. We have more RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17. I'm really liking this season so far. How's everyone feeling?
You know, it's funny because I feel like a lot of times people get into this mental play. By the way, hey Andrew, always love having you on our broadcast. Super great having you play with us. When you're thinking about a season, like you probably like go to like your first season. Like you might be like, oh my god, the one I started with, that's the one for me. No, I actually thought 15 was kind of overwhelming to jump in on because I was also watching 8 other seasons at once with different groups of people. And then I found 16 to be like my happy home. And then I so far think this one is really fun. But what I also think this one feels like is sort of like it smacks of editorial interference. In comic world, this would be like a 12-issue run that would reset the board for the next writer who was getting a little more attention. But this feels very much like not the girls. The girls are not the problem. That is not the statement. But it does sort of feel like this is kind of like murder boarding and hoping that we'll put the strings up for them.
Yeah, and I think my biggest feeling of that is the badonkadunk tank.
I am without.
It's a weird gimmick anyway. Like it could just be the bar of chocolate, but it's not.
But the bar of chocolate doesn't have these legs.
Yeah, I mean, like I love the idea. I love the image. Like I love Michelle doing a dunk tank. I think that could be really fun for.
I mean, she's showing feet for free.
Truly, there's a lot to love.
Jersey
about
feet.
Yo. Tattoo
and the leopard print.
Yeah.
One Piece.
Yeah. And she'll sink. No more flotation devices.
No, she got those removed.
Mm-hmm.
It was really odd that with a 1 in 10 chance, Hormona picked the one, and it did feel a little bit more.
2 in 10.
2 in 10, but still.
Double the odds you were giving her.
Well,
did
she get 2 chances?
No, but 2 out of 10 would have done it.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood what the thing was.
I just want to be clear. I think that no matter what, whoever pulled the first lever was getting it, and then the second one is at random.
That's what I think too. And it felt a lot more like they just wanted to do no elimination for the first challenge. And I probably would have just done it. I have no problem with the badonkadunk tank coming up at some point. I don't know that I would do it for a whole save. I don't know what I would do it for, but I like the idea. Again, I think it's cute to have Michelle up there. It's a fun little moment. It is really the first time we've actually addressed the water theme inside the show. Which to me has been odd to go so hard on it and then not have the talent show be water based, or who knows, I don't know. But so this all happened, and then it just felt like when all was said and done, when I reflected at the end of the episode, they did the thing that they decide to do a lot of seasons and not send anybody home for the first challenge, particularly the talent show, but rather than do it and give RuPaul that moment, not that she needs any moments, but I think I like it for her in the show when she figures out a way to announce, like, I'm choosing not to send anybody home, or nobody goes home this week. I love a good fake out where she's, everybody gets through the lip sync. She saves one girl and then she goes, I think this would have been the perfect time for her to say, Hormona Lisa, I chose you once. I'm choosing you again. You're not going home this week.
You mean like the great Candy, wait.
I truly love that one. I think it's it's a real gag moment, and it's a moment. This was just kind of shenaniganery, and it's fine. Like it's fine, but more than anything, it makes Hormona look like she really ought to be gone and just really lucked out not being there. And I think I worry that is going to be a constant storyline, that Corey is going to constantly be saying, you shouldn't even be here. You're only here because you got lucky. And I don't know, for me, it's starting things off on a weird note.
So would you feel differently if it was the exact same setup, but Acacia?
Yeah, I mean, yes, because they both really took it from the team in terms of like being told you were not as good as everybody else. And I feel like it would really set Acacia up for a similar thing. I mentioned Corey specifically because Corey has been pretty vocal about not caring for Hormona in particular. I don't know that it would be, I would say like, and Corey's going to be mean to Acacia, but somebody absolutely would have said like, oh, like you are only here by a coin toss, not because RuPaul saved you or because you were supposed to be here or because you won anything. And I just don't love all of those narratives. What I do love is the narrative of Ru saying, I'm gonna keep you. Nobody's going home this week.
Yeah.
Do we think that we would have gotten some of that narrative if the chocolate bar had popped up golden sooner than the last possible chance?
That is a fantastic question, because that looked ugly too in like the all the way other end of the season spectrum, where it was like, well, I kind of feel like you guys just wanted to have more people at the end. Like, again, if this had been 5th episode or something.
To be fair to that season, there were also numerous non-elimination episodes in that season, which was it made season 14 feel longer.
Yes.
There were plenty of the girls from the season 14 cast I love. I mean, I literally would die for Bosco, recipient of the Golden Chocolate Bar. But the Golden Chocolate Bar, I think that even that one in of itself wouldn't in itself as bad if the rest of the season didn't feel like, okay, we're keeping them all around again. This one is so fascinating because also now having it be 1 out of 9 is just a weird ratio. I would have, in a weird way, I would have, even if it would have hinted at it more, I would have loved it. It was like 2 out of 11, so this way it's 1 out of 10. I like nice numbers. I like nice
numbers too, but that's the problem when you're running with an odd, because the number isn't parallel to the number of girls. It's parallel to a number of eliminations.
Yes, but it also drives the certain part of my brain crazy that it's 1 out of 9, which is not a nice percentage.
I don't like 1 out of 11 either. I mean, like for me, unless you're talking about 1 out of 8 automatically, because first of all, 1 out of 12 and 1 out of 8 are my favorite matched percentages. Not to make this a numbers cast, but like 1 out of 8 and 1 out of 12 have such beautiful matching percentages. They just make math really symmetrical and mystic. But I get what you mean. You would really prefer 1 out of 11 over 1 out of 9?
No. I wanted to start at 2 out of 11.
Oh.
Then do that, and then it becomes a 1 out of 10.
I would have probably rather started at 2 out of 13. I probably would have rather started with 13. Just saying. I'm with you. No, I'm just having fun making this better.
Starting with 10 is the better start number. So, odds and ends. I think that's enough math.
Production makes choices. I think they made a wild choice with the idea of let's drag Michelle out of all of her stuff to stick her under a boom mic in water every day. Like, I think that's a production choice. I think true. For me, I would love to see a world where RuPaul just basically goes, yes, for the first 2 episodes for the American season and the first episode of everybody else, if we're doing a talent show, it's always going to be a talent show. No one's going to go home, and you're all going to discuss amongst yourselves who's in the bottom, who's in the top, and then that can, I don't know, something, pick something. But if we're going to move to a world where really nobody gets eliminated, then just call it. Just say, hey, we're going to give these girls the opportunity to showcase their shit for 1 to 2 episodes, guaranteed, and then how it goes from there.
I want to build on that for a moment. The other show that I think most people think of when they think about drag queens and competition on television is obviously Worst Cooks. And currently,
you jest, but I know that's a few. We've had a few queens.
There's been at least 6 or 7 queens on that show at this point. It's amazing. And this season, Trinity the Tuck is on it. So excited to see Trin. Love you, mama. But what's really funny is the classic twist at the end of the first episode. I'm not trying to spoil it for anybody, but there hasn't been a season in 28 where somebody's actually gone home. Maybe even 2 seasons in 28 where someone's actually gone home the first week.
No, please continue. Go.
But so like one of the things is when the host is saying no one goes home this week, he literally says, and unless you've never seen reality TV before, you probably already all saw this coming. Because like it is such a staple. It was something we were talking about with the traders. I have to imagine that there were people that were gimmicked in because they literally had their agent write it into their contracts that they would not be written out in the first episode. And I really wonder if that is what we are doing now. By the way, how crazy it that Wes is on 2 shows right now.
Yeah.
And Trinity was in the premiere of this and is in this season. And Antonio LaFaso is in this and Tournament of Champions, which starts next week. Like, it's just like the number of people who are on 6 and 7 reality shows at once is overwhelming. Give me one.
Listen, this times are hard. Everybody's got to be booked and blessed. They got to get it while they can.
Book me, bless me, choose me, love me.
Show my feet.
All
Anyway.
right. Well, the Drag King show is looking for people, so gather your VCR and make it happen.
Gather ye audition tape where ye may. So
Gather ye toes buds while you may.
Oh god.
I don't remember any of this at Run Fair.
I would like to discuss the fact that I was very happy for Crystal Envy. I was pleasantly
Work, mama.
surprised that our gal from Asbury pulled it out in such a dominating way.
I'm so excited. I'm gonna rewind this a little bit to get into the talent portion of it in a minute. The first thing I want to hit with this episode was the behavior that opens the episode is so much game playing. And it really struck my brain nerve right away that last week was 7 girls performing for the win and the love of the game. And this was 7 girls voting to kill. And like, I am very happy that Crystal did very well because she is very talented, but that was not why she was in the top. She was in the top because of all of the rigging. By the girls. Like, not like production, but like, this had a different vibe than last week. Did everybody else feel that there was like a little bit more of a let's kill each other vibe in the beginning of this episode than last week?
Go for it, Jonah.
I just wanted to say, I feel like that was the attitude that they went in, but I don't feel like that's how they voted this week. I feel like it was actually opposite, where last week they were like, oh my god, we're sisters, it's so good. And then they voted with strategy, and they voted a little more based off of who they liked, as opposed to maybe how, the shows actually went. This one felt a little, actually for me, less strategic.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jonah. Like, their words were very like, and I hate her, so 7th in this episode, but they wasn't so much strategery. It felt I will say what I think we all agree on is the vibe felt very different for how the voting was going than it did from last week. I don't quite know what it was, but it didn't feel, I mean, like they also, because the conversation got brought up about like, well, Acacia, who would you want to lip sync against? And then her desired person was categorically the bottom person. It made it, I don't know. It was a little weird. The vibe was weird.
I actually didn't think that Hormona did any worse than Gottmik did. They were the same level of stolen from the internet jokes.
I agree.
And
well,
they were performed with the same level of. I thought they were delivered with the same level of. I learned how to do this from YouTube, and so like.
Gottmik's delivery got more laughs. I think you're right, but Gottmik somehow pulled it out.
Jonah had a great point. Gottmik performed in front of a live studio audience. And
sure. Yeah.
Hormona Lisa performed in front of a dunk tank.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a perfectly reasonable supposition. And I otherwise don't super disagree. But of course, compared to the other 6 girls, I do think she did. I mean, I do think the reaction was the worst. You're making some great points about that reaction maybe there are multiple reasons why it wasn't good. I will say I did not laugh, and I cringed so hard at points that I thought I might actually implode and turn into a black hole.
Yeah, I think the difference that we're feeling with the vibe in the room is that last week people were voting to save their friends quietly and in the confessional. And this week they were a little more vocal about it, or not saying it in the Untucked Lounge, but behaving like it and getting caught on camera behaving like it. Like, I think that we saw similar, like, between Lana and Ariete, we saw between Sam and Jules. I think they were probably trying to get Acacia to be a little less quietly boring with how she was going to play this game and try to force some kind of drama to happen. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was anything more. We saw them all gather up in a group and like bring people to the table and say, why should you stay and not the others? I think we saw a lot of the same. But I think that... Go ahead.
Do you think maybe part of the weird vibe you're feeling is how weirdly horny everyone is for each other this season? Because it's been a lot already. Jonah has joked a lot, especially the last few months, about the fact that Ru will get her showmance come hell and high water, and it really feels like there's a lot already this season. And you mentioned how you felt like there was, if anything, just a little bit of a different vibe on the voting between weeks. I wonder if maybe, even if not the horniness of it, but the getting to know each other and these personalities all coming out more is what we're taking note of.
I think maybe even part of that is episode 1, you're in a way, not best behavior, but for many of these girls, it's their first instances of being on camera, have a camera this close up to you, having to act, perform, and kind of pretend the camera's not there. You have to be yourself, you have to say a story, you have to do your makeup, you're doing all of these things where it's a lot of pressure. And for a lot of times, I think for your first instance doing something like that, you might be a little more reserved and you try to be a little bit nicer, try to not look a certain way. And by the second episode, I think they were maybe a little more comfortable. So they're a little more playful, a little more shady. And maybe that's where some of the awkwardness comes from, where the first episode, if everybody comes across a little more reserved, and then immediately what seems like a jump of opening up, there might be a little bit of a hard juxtaposition between how you're viewing people.
Right.
It's really, for me, one of the things that I often try to consider when these are going episode to episode, the way they're filmed, how many days they film in a row, the actual emotional reaction time, who's been coached, who knew what was coming, what's a reconversation later on. And so, like, sometimes trying to imagine the way these moments happen, like, I really hear what you guys are saying, and I'm not being that person. I did maybe think there was no difference between the quality that I got from Sam Starr versus the quality that I got from Hormona Lisa. I thought that the quality of performance was the same. Congratulations, you're in the local talent show. And I wasn't quite sure what I was supposed to do with that. And I understand that Sam Starr is an incredibly awarded queen. I am not here for her crowns. I am not here for her ribbons and sashes, and she deserves every one of them, I'm sure. But this performance left me achingly bored. At least Hormona Lisa, I rolled my eyes. Sam, I had to keep trying to remember if she'd performed.
This is where I get to start being a hater, because I did not like any of these. I didn't like most of them. And yeah, it did. I sort of had a similar reaction to Sam. I went in ready to really not like it because it bummed me out how
Twinks bummed me out too.
Yeah, truly. Like,
and Twinks like to have their bum out.
Yeah, just get over it, guys.
It's Mal weekend.
Guys, sure is. It bummed me out that she was so kind of rude to Acacia about her performance, because again, I think it's really brave to get up there and sing live and perform. I don't think that she did the best, and I thought the critiques of her performance were valid, but I still thought it was really brave, and she did have a lot of talent. Sam, like, it was for a country song for like a number at a bar. It was fine. Like, it was not a bad song. It was very listenable. It had energy. She had good energy, but like, to talk with so much confidence and to shoot down somebody who like performed original material live, where, you know, you lip synced and didn't do anything insane except for a mediocre death drop off a hay bale.
The way she did that,
it was not.
I was like,
yeah.
Now I watched it in slow motion because I was so.
Well, it was already. She jumped in slow motion. I was like, "This is."
A hot older boyfriend showed up with cheesecake for everybody in the middle of the episode.
Oh my god, yeah!
Most amazing thing you've ever seen. He just walks in with plates of cheesecake and
And
raspberries,
he's plating it out as he's watching this performance.
and he just goes, "No, her leg is broken."
He's like, "Is she okay? She fell."
I mean, she did fully step on it and then plop
And then
down. It was very weird. This was not Aja.
Kind of bounce a little bit like a doll.
Yeah, she did flop. This was not Aja off the box.
Yeah,
and again, like,
this was
looking at
Andy's
that
coming.
No. Looking at the hay bale, it's like also like you're like, that's not
With the face.
Yeah,
I will say that part I did love. I love that she just sat there smiling for like 3 minutes.
Like a broken
little,
Barbie.
That's
a little campy and silly, but you know, Nico, I feel like at least Hormonas I felt was so bad I had a reaction to it. And again, she tried. She did something original. She brought original-ish material, let's say. I didn't feel so much like stealing Nikki Glazer's entire routine like Gottmik did. It felt more like pulling jokes out of the ether that we all kind of know in one form or another and repackaging them under the Hormona brand. Not like the most original comedy I've ever heard, but you know, she got up there and she performed. She did a comedy set, and I don't know. Like, the thing that I'm gonna repeat over and over again is that, like, bringing an original song and lip syncing to it and dancing, for me, it's either that should be the thing that everybody is required to do for this challenge, or nobody should be allowed to do it anymore. And you can bring an original track and sing it live, and then your talent is singing. You can bring in an original track and dance to it, and then your talent is dancing. But then I think you should be judged on the thing that you say your talent is, and not the song, not the package, not the performance, or not the holistic performance, but like what you say your talent is at the talent show. I'm getting really, really tired of these original songs, because somebody, like, unless the girl can really sit down and go, I produced this and let me walk you through the steps I did to make it. The NICOs of the world are producing these tracks for these girls, which I love that partnership, but the NICOs of the world are not on the stage. We're not going through the process. You know, we're not seeing it like we do when the girls perform an original root track, and then we see them do the recording at the rehearsal and see them go through the dance steps. We're just seeing the final product, and it is a very surface product for the girls that choose to do this.
Can I actually,
what?
I just want to hop on that for a second and
I
kind of echo what you're saying,
monologuing,
because I wonder how much girls not having to credit their producer, their designer, their seamstress, is how we wound up with Perla borrowing from Very Mary Kate, because she might have worked with a joke writer who gave her some jokes too. And like, what's the difference if you work with a joke writer or if you work with a designer? You're not going to credit your joke writer. You're not going to credit your designer. And so like, it winds up being kind of interesting, because I can't think of a lot of other industries where there are this many invisible people.
Yeah.
In American Idol, there's, the artists that they're copying, and you know the style that they're doing that night. In the Real World Road Rules Challenge, that's them on trend doing those things.
Well, and I also think it's called Drag Race. It might actually be kind of cool to, instead of having the pit crew be hunky boys, have each contestant have their pit crew.
Or
and actually,
hunky boys right here, ready to be there.
Well, I mean, the
songwriting.
fact that you could do both is that's just not fair. That's just the kind of person you are, and I want to punch you in the face. But for everybody else, like, I'm saying, keep the hunky boys. That can you can have the mini Wang experience of doing both. But that can be one thing. But each girl's pit crew like have them feature a designer that they love, that they got something from. Have them feature the producer that helped them with the original track. The people that help you get there. That's nobody does anything alone. We all have our teams. And I just think that would be cute. I'm not saying we have to do that. I'm not saying that that's the only way forward. I'm just saying, like,
Actually, yeah, brilliant.
I think it'd be fun.
I do want to break in with something. I think maybe what I feel like you guys are talking about is, giving kudos on air, because when things are posted on Instagram or through YouTube,
a lot of times
credited. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure people who are watching and listening that it's not that these people aren't crediting people who do work for them.
The thing that we do need to recognize is their tweet is seen by 4,000 people and the show is watched by 29 million, and it's just not the same.
I think it also boils down to, once again, the idea that this is RuPaul's show. What RuPaul puts effort and interest into is going to stand above what everybody else is doing. That's why people choose to do these songs that are basically just lip syncs to something that you could chart yourself, is because that's what RuPaul was doing. That's what RuPaul enjoys replacing herself with. And that's where we are. And I think that's why there's a certain amount of leeway given to the girls for not designing and making their own costumes. There's leeway given for not maybe writing your own jokes or coming up with your own Statsgrade performance. I think there is something to that, but I think I think there is always going to come a point when it's a high skill level reality competition that you sort of have to say, well, we're not talking about the PAs who've been running around helping us, cut the lumber so that I can make this cute shed kind of thing.
I agree. And I just want to be clear. I was not coming for Jonah's perspective of the girls are doing a good job promoting their back end on their own time. It's that Ru isn't giving the opportunity, because exactly as you're saying, Tori, it's Ru's show at the end of the day. Ru is the one who controls who's getting plaudits. And like, I want to see 10 Yards Clothing's name emblazoned on every... so sorry. I want to see 10 Yard Clothing's name emblazoned on everything that that the company gets to do as a fan of a designer who worked with like a trillion of the girls from season 16. I think it's TK, what is the name of the person that is the secret single name behind all of Ru's songs the last 10 years? Scaldi?
Leland.
No,
Scaldi does her outfits. Leland does the songs.
No, thank you so much.
No, Skeleton Key.
Skeleton Key.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That is really close. That's so weird.
There's a person out there who is being credited with like literally everything Ru does these days.
Yeah.
And we know nothing about this person.
Yeah, who literally their presence online is obscured. Who knows why? Like, because it might be a team. There's any number of reasons, but this person exists in the world, but their social media profiles don't have a picture of a person. Their posts don't indicate life. There's no personal details, which is fine. Whatever. I also appreciate, the perspective is not lost on me that like that is free promotion for all these people, and World of Wonder does not do a lot for free. But again, like, I'm just like, my initial setup of the idea of like having the girls each have a pit crew is just because like I thought it was a cute thing to sort of indicate that, again, nobody does it alone, and also to put some faces behind the mechanisms that allow somebody to come out and do a track, because then it feels a little more like something to me than when a girl just shows up with something that I feel pretty confident in 9 out of 10 cases they simply did not produce themselves. I don't even necessarily know if a lot of times they wrote the lyrics themselves. So then what are we do? So then, like I said, like your talent is dance, because you're not performing it live most of the time either. And so then like, maybe the energy is really good. And again, a lot of these, like Sam's, if I had gone to a drag show at like my local bar at like Gino's or the Empire, places that do local drag here, and a performer had done that song, I probably would have had a really nice time with my drink and a little fun. But like, if you're asking me, it's the Olympics of drag, was that an Olympics of drag moment? no, and you know, that's, I don't know. I don't really know what to do with it, particularly in this set of 7 girls, because I was having that reaction to basically everybody except Anya Nerve, who still gets the critique, but I thought her flow was so good. There was something, and I think she did write those. I'd like to think she did write those lyrics. But I think she also could have, because the whole joke was it was a very simple 2-step. She could have done that song live. She could have rapped that live and done the dance. That is a walk and chew gum moment. And I would have liked that for her, because then I could have said she was the best of the season. Because otherwise, what?
I just want to ding that the track was so forgettable.
I did not think
it
it was.
fun.
I thought
she was great, but the production beeps and boops, like I literally sat here going, all right, well, that's literally a contact sound font. That's a contact sound font. That's a contact sound font. And like, there was nothing that distinguished it from any of the tracks in seasons 15 or 16.
I disagree.
Interesting.
Production wise, I kind of hear what you're saying.
Because like she was amazing, but the
yeah,
track
and I think
was,
it might
I
be
don't
that
remember,
marriage
actually, yeah.
where like I'm not really separating the two. Because having her rap over it was unique for the night, because most people, well, I shouldn't say it was unique for the night, but most people's raps were like EDM electro beats. I can't technically sing, so I'm rapping, where this was like, you know, a black woman who has said that she's just wants to bring blackness to the show, doing a traditionally black style of music, and really like actually showing up to rap, not to
show up to lip sync.
Yeah, and also like show up to just don't make me sing, or like you can vocode this, but you know. So that's how a lot of girls get into like a kind of speak singing, or technically it's rapping, but they don't have really any commitment to hip hop. She had all of that, and like I said, I just wish that she had done the rap live, because I do think she could have, and I think it would have been a bit of a risk. I do think it would have paid off, but she does get the critique that everybody else gets, which is she lip synced to it. And then she did what was amusingly a simple dance. But then what was your talent here, girl?
Personally, I would not trust this production with live singing ever again. If I watched the show and went in, I would not.
For live vocals, I think rapping you would have been safe, but I think you're totally right.
I would not have trusted them to know how to mix anything for their lives. From what last week gave me, I felt there were more standout performances last week than there were this week. I think that a lot of the people that I had lower expectations from did well this week.
Yeah.
And people I had high expectations of did fine. I think I was most surprised by Miss Lana Jarre. I expected higher energy from her.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But
yeah, I was also very disappointed.
I found her a little meh.
She kind of felt the energy she gave me in a really weird and funny way is the energy of a prodigy daughter of a prodigy star mom who just sort of unemotes her way through a really amazing performance, because this is what stage mommy taught me.
Yes.
And so I hope there's more energy coming.
I had those expectations and she met them and nothing else. I thought Crystal was going to do really well, and I did not feel that she did. I felt her performance was the EDM version of Sam Starr's. The only thing she had that really got me was the dress pull. I thought that was a fantastic move. I thought that was a great showmanship move, and I want to give her huge credit for that. I am seeing a thing with Crystal that I feel bad bringing up, but I also am going to bring it up because I think it's a thing, and I don't think anybody's going to say it. It's also a compliment, kind of. It is a backhanded compliment. Most beautiful feminine face in drag. Handsome man body. And I just felt like the outfit was like the outfit made her look butch. And it was kind of a Cameron Michaels moment where I'm just like,
that's like a Jersey thing.
Yeah, like, you know, and you know, she talks about, you know, the Jersey vibe, and it's just, it only even came up for me because in Canada, TS was like, the hair hides the shoulders, the hips hides the shoulders for Minnie Wang, who also has a dude body, and I've clocked Minnie for at times, not you know, the setup reveals that she is quite masculine and quite ripped. and just has very male Dorito chip proportions, which is gorgeous, and it's what I'm aspiring to at all times. But I think it can be a challenge for Drag Race. And I always find it funny when Rue, the sort of keeper of the, like, everybody should look as fishy as possible, and like had to be dragged out and had to be dragged out of the Stone Age in terms of letting trans contestants on the show. I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised when she doesn't clock somebody who is specifically looking pretty muscular and pretty upside down triangle on the stage, which is something I really noticed from Crystal. And I was only surprised by because her makeup is just so stunning. And it's not like it's a thing that you could fix by just kind of changing the proportions of your outfit. So I was just a little surprised that it wasn't a detail that came up.
So I do want to engage a little bit with something that happened last week that gave us an opportunity that didn't happen this week. Last week, Lydia B. Collins, the B does in fact stand for butthole, I guess, crawled into a giant puppet and then crawled out. Last week, Joella performed in front of her personal hero in a way that asked us to think about what it means that there was a personal level to this. There were so many things going into last week that made everything feel different. I am a little bit disappointed with this week, but am I disappointed with this week, or is it exactly what happened with season 15's premiere, where it was just the same thing 45 fucking times? And so, like, I wonder if our frustration with this group of performances is a simple case of bad lighting. And, Ariette's performance wasn't the moment, but we weren't quite so negative that because of the cultural aspect. I don't think anybody brought a cultural aspect in the Ariette way. And I want to just be clear when I say that, that's because I don't feel a lot of people appropriate Latin, Revanista dancing the same way they do hip hop culture, which while Anya clearly brought, her personal culture.
Is this appropriative of twink culture?
Hold on. Actually, Corey had the worst night by defiance of God. Corey literally said, "What is Rue's favorite style of music? It's a New Jack Swing house beat set over Chicago deep sound." Okay, I can do that. I can find the unwritten Crystal Waters song. No problem. It'll be Diamond Liquids, mama. So we get that going. Perfect. It's Liquid Diamonds. I never realized that Liquid Diamonds by Tori Amos is just a Crystal Waters song. So then we get to Corey doing this song in essentially a Rue-inspired wig, doing Rue references like coffee enema and sipping as she's walking and doing the bass that is doing literally a brilliant traditional drag-inspired send-up of something. And she got no fucking credit because Rue wasn't judging. If Rue had been judging, Corey would have gotten a whole lot more positivity.
Yeah.
But the other girls aren't Rue. So I think a lot of Corey's incredibly well thought, incredibly deep-seated references to classic Rue culture just got overlooked.
Interesting, overrooked, I think you would say, because you got to really say the rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point, because you are right in that if Rue had been judging it, she likely would have been far more tickled and seen that it was for her. But that doesn't make it good. It makes it smart and bad luck. And again, this falls with Crystal and Sam and Lana for me. Like, this wasn't bad. This wasn't anything to be embarrassed about, but I did not find this memorable at all. I felt really bad. I loved the idea of the Ice Cube reveal, but then it's just like, there were like 11 of them and they were starting to fall off. And it would have been great to really embellish the ice cubes to just have that reveal, have a bit of a stronger moment. For as smart as it was to think to play to who you thought was going to be the judge, I also think if you aren't prepared to have your stuff appeal to everyone, then you're losing points that you maybe deserve to lose. And so yeah, I mean, like, none of these girls did anything that I was just like, oh, you should be embarrassed. But none of them did anything where I was like, I will think about this track after this week. That is saved for Anya and Lexi, and not in a good way, Hormona. But at least I'm thinking about it.
But is it right to expect for us to love 90% of the acts? We don't love 90% of Snatch Game. We don't love 90% of the first design challenge. Like, there's gonna be meh on most of these.
I want to just challenge that there's a difference between loving 90% and thinking that 90% reached the bar for what is necessary levels of talent for something like this.
Yeah.
And
It's not that I think the zone I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that I think any of these girls, it's exactly what we were saying about Snatch Game. Snatch Game's kind of broken. The talent show's kind of broken right now.
Yeah.
I think every girl needs to bring a talent that is not something you would do in the course of a season. No dancing, no singing, no comedy. And the reason that's actually important is because nobody is saying bring your act. It's a challenge. Bring a talent. And if you're saying the girls aren't talented enough to have something unique they could do that is not singing, dancing, or acting, we're underselling these girls, their brilliance, their creativity, their unbelievable minds. I'm telling you right now, if a girl got up there and solved algorithms, I would be impressed.
And ultimately, I'm also okay with going in the exact opposite direction and doing, I mean, they've already done Ruru Vision, but like, this could be Ru's Eurovision. Everybody comes and brings their track. I would be okay with everybody doing a track. And most of them would, Tori, fall into that like not memorable category. But if everybody was doing that, even if a lot of them weren't memorable, I could judge them on the same rubric.
But again, nobody goes home, and we know that from the beginning. If this was, we don't need to judge you guys, it's just yourself.
Show me what you got, and then maybe
I think
from the
that
judges.
would help.
That I'm also okay with. But again, it doesn't solve the problem for me of like, I can't stop feeling like Acacia Forgot was really brave. And again, Hormona, really brave, despite the fact that I can see why both of them failed, and I don't feel they deserved to win, but I do feel like they deserve a special kind of credit for actually doing something way riskier than pre-recorded track lip sync dance. And if everybody was doing that, then at least I wouldn't have that disconnect of how I feel watching, it's usually like 1/3 that does that versus the 2/3 that do the track and dance.
I was in a program in middle and elementary school, and it was like an enrichment program. And like my school did a thing where like everybody that wanted to be in enrichment, it didn't matter. If you wanted to be in an enrichment, there was a way to do it. And like the one that I was in particular, we had a binder that we would fill with all sorts of things that we were studying, and there was a miscellaneous section. And I remember saying to Miss Gabriel, my instructor, I remember being like, but what's going to go in here? And she was like, oh, stuff that doesn't fit in the other tabs. And I was like, then why are we doing those things? And she's like, well, they're worthwhile. And I was like, well, if they're so worthwhile, shouldn't we organize them properly? And she was like, God, you're annoying and you're 8. And like, I think what I'm realizing is that 8-year-old still exists. And I think the problem really does come down to, is this a talent show or is this everybody do your signature number? If this is everybody do your signature number, that's a level playing field. But to say some girls, I don't know, there's this thing that happens where like we say, well, it's up to the girls to be brave and to change the paradigm. But at the same time, you want to survive, right? So like sometimes you button mash to survive. Sometimes you break out the level 100 Pokemon to survive. Like you're not trying to be annoying and keep using Sleep and Dream Eater, Hypnosis and Dream Eater over and over again. but you want to live. And so like sometimes it's tough because the show enables the girls doing this sort of rote singledom when I really think we're onto something where the challenge should be. You can't do something that is a traditional one of these three challenges. Because yeah, the problem is these girls are lip syncing to their own song. I'm going to see them lip sync to songs that they constantly lip sync to anyway, all season long, unless they're Nymphia or Bianca. Wait a minute. Here's the thing. Winners don't lip sync. I'm kidding. But I am, yeah, it's a little bit on the show to promote betterdom, I think.
I have a couple of things I want to posit. The first being, I hear, I think talent show is maybe a little bit of a misnomer because it's not always specifically about talent in the sense that we're not showcasing a specific and highlighting a specific skill. It's more so just a performance. And really, it's what the end of the day is. It's just a performance challenge, and you are given the free reins to kind of do what you want. I hear what you're saying, but it feels almost in a way a large ask to say nobody can do an original song, nobody can dance, nobody can lip sync, you can't do any of that. When for most drag entertainers who are performing in bars and clubs and all these things are lip syncing and dancing. For the most part, drag performers who are performing on stage and out, they're lip syncing. Some of them will be singing live, some of them will play instruments, not even just specifically even mentioning just Acacia, but like someone like Olivia Lux has talked about how she plays her pianos at some of her shows. Trixie plays, her music at the shows, blah, blah, blah. Insert list of queens who play whatever, and not even just people on the show. It feels, you're now, I think, shrinking a lot of that pool to say, come with something that's not what, I'm not saying that we can't try to cultivate more and ask for more, like, hey, let's try to do something different. But I also maybe feel a way of saying to people who, for the most part, do it a lot, I feel like, in a way, would we ask someone going to a baking competition, nobody's allowed to do cakes?
If perhaps the elimination challenge was always bake a cake, yes.
And I actually
you had
think
to do to go home was bake a cake, I might say I want to see you do cookies or a pie or a torte.
And to me, I think, yes, many of these queens have these extra talents that can be turned into a performance. I would also like to say, having worked with many entertainers, some are just good at this. And that's all they got. And they're very good at it, but they got nothing else. They can't even do an accent. This
I don't
is
give
what
them the
they
crown.
do. Well, and so at the end of the day, I think it's possible we might be putting more weight upon this talent performance than we should. If it's like when people are like, what are you taking from this talent show? I'm like, there are 7 girls in front of me. 6 of them will do better than the other. 1 of them has to go to the bottom. That's the end of it. It's not, for me, it doesn't reveal enough, and I don't think can ever reveal enough because we do have to keep a certain level playing field. Now, if we were to say something like, hey everyone, all of you will be, the top 12 of you will be making your way to a Work the World season show at the end of this. What you do here will be one of your numbers in that. So show us what you fucking got. And making that clearer as opposed to just having it be like unspoken or something. I don't know. I think
part out loud of I said this a little bit last week, but a lot of the talent show is truly Voss Events is going to be sponsoring you and putting you on tours and sending you throughout the world. What are they booking you with? What are they telling people? What are they telling promoters? This is what she does. What are they showing them? A lot of it is what this talent show kind of is more supposed to be about. I also don't feel like people should be given special points for doing something different if it doesn't land.
Yeah. You gotta be good.
I commend Hormona in a way for trying to do stand-up. And maybe it's just because it's specifically stand-up. I don't think stand-up should be without stand-up. It's really weird to have these high energy performances and then just full straight up actual stand up, regardless of whether she did well or not. And in a way, you know, I look back at All Stars 4 and Jasmine Masters had a little bit easier because there was an actual crowd there. That was when they were doing these variety talent shows in front of an actual crowd. But you look at when Trinity did it, and now you look at when Hormona did it, and it just is. It's really hard to just shift your brain into a mode of comedy and to be like, all right, we're all supposed to laugh now. And I think also with stand-up, you need that energy of a crowd. You need the people there. You need that live feedback. And when it's a small crowd like that, I feel like she was shooting herself in the foot choosing this.
The only thing I will say is your Biancas and maybe even your Jinxes could have succeeded even on their seat. So like she shot herself in the foot. She should not have done it. She is too young and didn't quite have the chops. I think you're absolutely right with a crowd, with a full crowd, to have their energy, and with time, you know, if it had been a comedy challenge where everybody was doing that, I think she could have been successful. I think she's just too early in her career and her understanding of comedy to have done it in this context. But people can, like, there are, you know, some people come to Drag Race ready to just make Ru laugh in that context, even sandwiched between two girls doing cunty songs. It unfortunately was just not her, and you're 100% right that just because she did take the risk and do something that was not like what everybody else does, you don't get rewarded if it's still not good. And similarly, that's what I said about Acacia too. Like, I really respected it, and I think it should be noted, but she was lacking something in energy that, even though she took the risk, the audience didn't live for it the way they live for somebody just doing a pre-recorded track, and that has to be factored in.
I just want to kick over to KEVO, who's been looking to go for a minute.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think everyone's even really saying the same thing at the end of the day, which is that there needs to be a standard of competition. And I really feel what Tori and Jonah are saying, which is that more than anything, I feel if this show needs a critique, it's that it should be tied more directly to the franchise and what you're going to need for the franchise. But I also really feel what NICO and TK are saying in terms of the standards of it being what it is advertised as, which is talent show. And there are merits that go with that, that sort of transcend audience in some ways, or are significant in the face of the audience. But you know, really, I think just up and down, it's a mess.
Well,
and
I just want to riff on that, because, like, for me, I hear what you're saying, Jonah. You don't think that somebody doing something different to be different should be rewarded if it doesn't land. I just thought that a bunch of these girls' dances didn't land. I just thought a bunch of these girls did exactly the same flat C- performance for Drag Race that is an A+ performance for the real world. But I've watched Laganja jump from 6 feet, and, like, you don't go to the Olympics hoping to beat 1973's 3rd place. You go to the Olympics hoping to beat Michael Phelps' world record. And so, like, the idea that we've reached a point where, like, doing it was the joke I made last week of, is it a duck walk or is it a goose step? If everybody's doing exactly the same thing at the exact same level, am I impressed? I'm not, but other people have the right to want to see a specific style at a certain level and be completely happy. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's where sometimes I want the show to give me more, but it doesn't mean that I don't think the show is doing enough and the girls aren't giving.
If you level the competition too far, is it even the same competition?
Yeah, and I think also it's about that we should be hearing. I guess it's the idea that we're just considering the fact that girls that are coming out and doing the dance number are just inherently better than anyone not. And I didn't feel like that's what we got from the girls this episode, but I do think that if you're going to figure out a safe talent to bring, that is the safe quote unquote choice where you can hide amongst the girls. You don't have to go to Jules or Lucky's level of performance art with it. You can just stay comfortably mid with it. And so you have to decide if you want to shoot for the stars, if you want to shoot for safe.
And I'm not saying we can't ding people for not trying to go for things and not pushing forward, because like Nico said, if you're showing up to the Olympics, you should be going for the gold medal. You should be going for the world record. You should be going to break things. And that's why I think someone like Lexi's performance, where at the end of the day, it is just a lip sync. All she did was lip sync, but she added her twist. What is her twist? It was her rollerblades, which were absolutely stunning. Also, I think we got the best lip sync probably of the season. I think
that was wild.
We got simultaneously the best lip sync of the season and potentially maybe the worst.
And she's a great example because of how much, yes, absolutely, wrong one, how much she added to it because it was a solo performance. It's not an end of episode lip sync against another person, so she could have props, she could go big. She made a giant performance out of it. Exactly. She did something with the standard style.
You look at someone like last week's winner, Susie Toot. All Susie did, again, was she just lip synced to an original track for her, but she showcased two things. One, a specific dance style in tap dance, and two, she imbued her actual sense of self in it, her comedy. What does she do? You know, I'm now going to do the Gettysburg Address in Morse code in tap dance, and then just like it's. I want to make sure I hear what everybody's saying, and I want to elevate that to. It is a little frustrating when if you're just going to show up and just do the song and dance. No, give me something special. What is your twist? You know, even like Lucky again. Lucky Starzzz just did a lip sync track, but she specifically had, you know, lemons.
It's special. Her talent was special effects.
Her talent was her special effects.
I mean, and Jonah, I actually even like the idea of like the twist show. Like you can come, but what's your twist? Because I don't.
You were dead the whole time.
You could maybe say that Sam's was country, but then like I think that's a bad twist, and you should get points. Like the people that really unimpressed me, it was either I felt like there was no twist or whatever the twist was.
Wait, but if it's country, what did the ORY stand for?
I'm gonna really have to pray on that and get back to you, but I bet I can come up with something real good and disgusting. Yeah, I mean, I love that idea of like just like identify the twist and then you have it, because that addresses my problem. And also, yeah, I mean, I get you are making a really valid point, which is like to negate all this kind of screws everyone over in a way that is also not fun. And wheeling it all the way back to the bigger point, like this is the show's problem. This is no girl's particular problem. The show's got to figure out after 17 years what it wants to be and how it can elevate itself to reach the audience's expectations and to push the girls to do something more. I mean, I love that it was Lexi who won, who is the oldest one there and who constantly is like, I have a little more grit. I have a little more experience. They call her grandma.
The show treats her. Yeah, she's 33, currently 34.
They're like, this Methuselah. Yeah, somebody's 40th birthday is
this ancient elder.
I am pretty
this
upset about
poor woman
this.
is being treated like, I don't know, she were putting her in the nursing home next week.
I was literally going to say they are casting her as Sophia in the Golden Girls episode that they're going to do. Obviously, Little Sparkles should be the Sophia because she is both tiny and has very tight ringlets.
Meanwhile, on Canada, they're still taking Jaylene clubbing with them. So, like,
no, it's so unfair. Lavoie is 38, which I guess I'm 38, so we're both dead. But you know, like Lavoie in the UK,
Lavoie was 40.
That's fine. Is beautiful and young and forever. And over in Canada, Jaylene is eternal and stunning. And then in the United States, 27 years old, well, you have to be shot on the ice floe because we're concerned that it won't melt fast enough for you to drown.
But for all their talk, she's the most athletic. And then she's
the most athletic on wheels. I do think that Lana
on
Del Rey
wheels is athletic, bruh.
I think Lana Del Rey might actually be Spider-Man. I think he might actually be Morales.
And unfortunately made the choices not to feature that very much. So That's her
Those
problem.
legs, though.
They're very long, and that is something.
Those
to
legs
work
are
with.
font size 72.
They go all the way down.
But yeah, I mean, I was so glad that Lexi
the
won.
floor.
I love how she's been talking about and representing herself. I thought it was funny how everybody talks about her. Again, I'm about to turn 40, so this is just insane to me. And I love her so much. And then the fact that she went from this into winning the lip sync by what I thought it was a great lip sync. I thought everybody did really good, but it was wild watching her connect with the track, because you see a lot of lip syncs where I think a girl does phenomenally well and wins and everything is great. But again, it's that idea of connecting with the track. Sometimes the girl who wins and is amazing and memorable, I don't feel like connects with the track. She's just great. In this case, I was really like, oh, she found exactly what this was and matched the energy and brought it entirely. And it was just like overall amazing to experience. I love her a ton. And yeah, she really does represent what I want to see if people are going to come in with original tracks, which is, as Jonah said, you just bring a twist that we can identify and sort of put everybody on the playing field of like, okay, what was it that you actually brought?
Can I just be a human dick print for a second and just say that, like, Crystal Envy, oh my god, guys, as I'm telling you, if the whole world was Monopoly, I would put Asbury Park next to New York City. Obviously, it's Chicago, fuck off. But I would put Asbury Park next to New York City in those dark blues, baby. Park Place and Boardwalk. It is the place that makes me the happiest. It's the place that I most fell in love with one of my partners. And like, I am so enamored of this city, and that there is a drag queen who represents every disgusting fucking thing about going to a convenience store in Asbury Park, and she's right up there on the TV screen, and she's fucking looking at me with that fucking headband. What idiot wears a headband on television? This
Dream Street Dropout.
oh my god,
boy, yeah.
guys, it's hard to talk about because like people don't
O-Town,
understand.
more like AP Town.
When people try to say to you, that's so Jersey, I'm like, no, you're an idiot, you're wrong, you're calling Staten Island. When I try to explain Jersey to someone, I don't know that there is more Jersey in this world than the two halves of Crystal Envy, who should actually just be a couple on Jersey Shore at this point. Jersey Shore family reunion, actually, because this would be their 8th season. Crystal is a queen that I have, since my beginning in drag interest, I immediately Googled New Jersey drag queens. And 2.5 years ago, Crystal Envy was the queen who came up. And so I have been obsessed with her career. The other day, Jonah said to me, I'm so glad to see Ray doing so well, because I remember 6 years ago you sending me her music and being like, listen to this, she's important. And now she is literally the most important songwriter like on the fucking planet. And I couldn't be prouder of this artist that I've been supporting with all my heart for years. Crystal is making me years of putting in nonsense pride proud. Oh my god, she's just living. She's living, you guys. She's living.
2 things about that. 1, we have to give it up for her because she gave Lexi a real run for her money in the lip sync.
I thought
Absolutely
she
incredible.
won, but it's fine.
We're biased. We have a hometown hero. We're biased. 2, I loved that in Untucked, they had like a little camera and she was like, wait, welcome to the girls' room. And I very much appreciate the Amanda Bynes show reference, because that is my exact level of brain rot, and I know that she's like me for real and we be friends.
Yeah.
Cute. Very cute.
Tori, you started this whole shebang bang off with wanting to let's go bang with Crystal Envy. And,
Yeah.
until you are just a kiss away from heaven with her. By the way, guys, I have worked 6 Jennifer Love Hewitt song titles into this episode. Good luck finding them all.
You've worked 7, 8 seasons of Jennifer Love Hewitt television into our lives in the last 2 months. So you are dedicated. What do you call yourselves? Hugh heads?
Lovers. But beyond that ridiculous thing you just said aside, sir.
Knit Hewitts?
I think something happens when you really care about a place a person is from. Honestly, you know, there's everybody that I would like, gouge my eyes out for Antigone style is either on screen or in the room right now. And so like Boston kind of matters to me now. And so like there's an interesting extra level of love I apply to Corey King, where I'm like, oh no, she's a Boston girl. Okay, well I care about her because it's EK, who's he's New England, and that's important to me now.
Never getting a Maine girl on there, so
well, because there's exactly 7 people in Maine, and all 7 of them are men from every time I've been up there.
But weirdly, apparently they're all drag, because we have a ton of drag queens up here. I don't know if anybody applies to Drag Race up here, but
they're probably all just applying to Dragula.
Yeah, this is definitely a Dragula crowd.
I just feel like something that winds up happening is you so identify with the region that your queens are from. Yeah. And I think about my dad one time said something to me when I was like 14 years old or something, and I was like, Dad, I am questioning all things in the world. Do you ever think there will be a Mets-Yankees World Series? And my dad flat out just said to me, you know what, there might be, but the MLB would hate it. And I said, why? And he said, it would play to exactly one market in the entire country, and no one else would really care outside of just the statistics. So no, you really want things that like pull together multiple regions. You want ideas that display concepts from across a broad spectrum, or at least geographically across a broad spectrum. And there was something so East Coast about this episode that certainly not all of the girls are East Coast in this episode, but there was something so East Coast that I recognized. There was something I-95 about this episode that I just can't put my finger on. That I'm proud of every girl. I did have a better time with last week, but knowing that next week, one of the people who I have had multiple conversations with this woman, so I get to say it. One of the people who has had the greatest impact on my life, knowing that Sandra Bernhard will be here next week.
Oh my God, right?
I mean, literally, I've seen her cabaret multiple times in my life. Once again, thanks to older boyfriend, he took me. It was very cool. It was very cool. But literally one of the most important comedians, performers in my life. The person who I literally I modeled and model and continue to model myself and my performances after her performances to this day, 25, 30 years after discovering her. And so like just getting to see Sandra Bernhard next week, it kind of doesn't matter. Anything can happen this season unless Tori Amos shows up or Janet Jackson comes in and goes, in 1986, I discovered homelessness. Unless that happens, this is bound to be my favorite episode of Drag Race since the last time Sandra appeared. She's cheating.
Do be like that.
All right, guys, close out this so we can move to Canada.
Yeah, I feel the same way as you do about Sandra Bernhard. Huge gay icon for me. And if there are so many message me on Blue Sky if you want Sandra Bernhard clips to understand the influence that this woman has had. She's done so much stuff that influences comedy that you watch and don't realize. But she also just like has infinitely now so many clips that you've probably seen and maybe scrolled past because it was not somebody recognizable to you, but she does this incredible it's part of one of her albums where she basically introduces the song Mighty Real by Sylvester, and she just has this incredible monologue before it. The performance on Letterman where she used to go on Letterman all the time, and if you watch all of her appearances on Letterman, they're absolutely amazing. Well, she also just recently had a clip where she was on with Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live, where she talks about how she was kind of horrible to Marla Maples, and they were the first lesbian couple on television.
I think a lot about how more people don't realize this, but almost every comedic queer one-person show sources from what was the show she did in like 98, 99 with the Groundlings. She was doing live TV performances. It had an HBO live comedy special for it, but like she does this famous bit where she's talking about how she's like, every day I wake up and I get out of bed and, I look at myself in the mirror, I laugh, I cry, I douche. And like more people don't realize how that comedic timing that she put in our minds 25 years ago is so much the prevalent queer voice of queer men now. It was amazing. Every single person at the cabaret that we saw last year was like an older queer man, and I was like, yes, that is correct.
Yeah, she's just amazing. So anyway, I'm also psyched, and that's my last takeaway before we go to Canada.
Tori, roll us on out for your thoughts. That'll roll us into Jonah, and then of course KEVO at the end there. But Tori, what is your big takeaway from the second episode of season 17? Which this is your first live from beginning to end season, so like this is so special. This is you can drive now, Mama.
Yes, this is my first regular season. It's very exciting. I'm glad that I know who is who. Very, very thankful for all of the PR that these gals did. I still think Acacia Forgot is not long for the show. But I think a lot of what I originally thought of all of these queens from the promos and the PR is very different from what I'm getting, so I'm excited to see how my feelings shift or if I just feel vindicated eventually.
Jonah, I really love what Tori had to add to it about seeing the whole thing come together over the long picture, and something that I know that your Drag Race almost like gambling interaction involves seeing the whole package for queens come together. Do you have any Acacia not for this world sort of guesses going in, or are you going to maybe make some guesses about who's going to be long for this world?
Based off my knowledge of how television goes, I see my current a good idea is that Corey King will be around for the long haul in the way, because Corey King is going to be our narrator. Corey King gives some of the best confessionals, and I think is the person that they can rely on to say some shady things, say a quip. I mean, this week it's the Battle of the White Girls, and I love it. Where she's mimicking Lexi in the confessional. So that's my read. I do think Corey King is going to be here for the long haul, and that makes me happy because I enjoy her, and so far I've been enjoying her, and I'm excited to get to know her more.
Nice.
KEVO, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting cast. I really like a lot of how ultimately everything shook out across this episode. I think a lot of the failing is not knowing how it was going to shake out and not being prepared for the fact that it was going to go in this way of nobody goes home and the talent show and the voting is back. And so that's giving us a sense. We found out that we're going to be getting the receipts. So that's going to be very interesting. NICO, you had just the other day been talking about maybe someday down the line they could, and nope, right away, we're just going to. So now I wonder how long voting is going to stay in play if now your voting has receipts, or if that is part of it now. Who knows? Maybe you can start buying receipts on people. Who knows? We have so many things that are yet to be foreseen, and I am glad that we didn't get rid of anyone yet, because now everyone gets to play a normal week before somebody ultimately gets sent home, and that's pretty cool.
And I think that's even part of where I found Canada a little lackluster this week in some ways. KEVO, your whole point was that we have some time before we see some of these people sent home. We get to know them a little bit better. I felt like Canada spent a lot of time building up some of these girls. I don't know that Perla got the send-off she deserved. I think that we lost a major player in Canada. I think she was I think she's a Canadian all-star. Like, girls like Perla are why I think every one of the international seasons deserves their own all-stars, not just Versus the Worlds. Versus the Worlds are great, but you get 4 of a single franchise in a Versus the World. And Canada is filled with so many fabulous girls who deserve that sort of attention. Perla, Mama, listen. I know we had some conversations about how I didn't love some of the places that you and I both steal material from. I just happened not to borrow it on television. But I would love to write material with and for you. I would love to write you songs. I think you are one of the most versatile girls look-wise we have seen in a very long time. I thought your movement was incredible, but man, she was sent home for the finale, not because she deserved to go home this week. I was disappointed.
Yeah, it was really, as soon as because I thought everybody was kind of equally fine in the interview. I thought it was a great interview. I thought they all had really good energy. But you know, I'm always curious if there's ever going to be a time where they're like, you were all actually equally good. We're kind of coin tossing this one, or like, I don't know what you do, but the critiques to me were odd, and to me, it felt like they decided that they wanted their 4 to be the 4 that we got. And the other thing is, like, because it means that probably realistically, although Canada, I give them credit, they're always kooky and different, so they might do something different. But realistically, probably Helena is not staying for the final part of whatever is happening. So then we're down, you know, we now have somebody that we can eliminate from the top 4 so that it's a top 3.
I want to ask you, because I made the reference and I said I wondered if her name is Helena after Helena Beat.
Oh,
and,
no, I think it's the My Chemical Romance song.
That's also Jonah's reference, but you know, I just like to think that maybe she also ties her hands up to a chair so that she doesn't fall that way.
I love yours. I think
my hands are tied up.
I would love another drag queen to have that reference, but my suspicion is that it's My Chemical Romance.
All right, well, until we get Foster the Cunties, I just and I can't wait. That would be such a record. Alaska singing the entirety of Foster the People's first record. The other cats. It would be amazing. Tori, you have had the most perfect beat the entire episode, and so it has not given away a lot of feelings because the beat is for the gods, and Boots is the house down, as Michelle Yeoh now says, and so it gives nothing away. I again, you know, like, I know we were playful, but like, I think that the girls in season 17, it's like Soul Calibur 2's lineup. It's without mistake. And then I think coming over here to Canada, this top 5, I don't see a lot of places you can critique. This is the original 5 Power Rangers, man. I hear they're all blue, but it's the original 5 Power Rangers. And so how do you feel about this episode of Canada and what they're doing with what is an absurdly talented group of girls?
I think this is the problem we hit at every point in the top 5 or 6, where it's like we have 6 people who are extremely good and all deserve to be in the finale, but we're kind of aware of 1 or 2 of them are going to win the whole thing. And so it was, are we going to... I think this week came down to who won. If it wasn't like a Michaela or, I guess, a Minnie. And then it would be how it shakes out from there. And I think Michaela and Virgo were always going to make it just on the strength of their lip syncs. I think Minnie was going to make it because Minnie has yet to hit low at all.
And that 7.5% body fat does not hurt.
Right, exactly. And so I think it was always going to come down to, is Helena poison or is it going to be Perla? And I thought Helena Poison would have gotten knocked off at this point, and then Perla would have gone to the finale, sheerly for the fact that Helena didn't have any wins yet. Helena did an excellent job at this point, and I think they were rewarding the fact that she's been extremely high for most of, literally almost every single thing. The only thing she was low on
I've been
was
extremely
girl
high
groups.
for almost every episode the last couple of weeks.
And I
I'm
think
not getting rewarded.
Yeah, Canada loves a track record a little more than other people. It takes a lot to upset a track record over in Canada. And I think I think this is what it was always going to be, unless they were going to pull something insane and someone like Virgo had a terrible week and had to go up against Michaela and just happened to get shuffled out the door.
Virgo would literally need to fall through a trap door and scream, "It's not my fault, I blame Brooke." To have had that bad a week, I really get your point.
Well, you know, some people don't do well with direct questions.
And especially because they wanted to ape Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live and really give you
the mayor.
Give you a that talk show moment where you get a little bit of everything. You do have to be kind of funny, absurdist, give a quote that can get TikToked. You also need to say something heartfelt for the people that are really watching that want to know you. And so, yeah, I think, you know, like if it had been a lot of the like sillier things, like may she rest in peace, the thing that they did with Naya Rivera, where it was like a morning show, girls can face plant on that challenge, which is kind of technically more of an improv challenge. It's like an improv, but you also have to know the field that you're doing the improv in. This is actually like
this is more of a don't get lost in the crowd thing.
Yeah, like really,
and
you can see like somebody like Virgo who, I mean, God love her, this is not a critique of her, but like she kind of naturally rises to the top. And sometimes girls like that don't have the energy for a talk show or a thing where like they have to be a certain kind of open and vulnerable because they're just used to people thinking they're charismatic. And there are certain contexts where that doesn't happen. And it doesn't have to be, you know, it could have been any of the girls. Honestly, I think that sort of is what happened to Michaela and why she got any points off and had to do the last lip sync. This was also a case of like, I wish they had lied and figured out a way to put Helena in the bottom because there was no way they were sending Michaela home. So it's like, why are we even doing this lip sync? I almost, as Perla, might have had a moment of like Ginny Lemoning and just being like, I'm going to stop you guys right there. I love you all so much. I'm just going to head out. Because like they just weren't, to me, and Jonah, I think I saw you making a face, maybe you disagree, but like I didn't think there was any way they were sending Michaela home. So I immediately, as soon as this lip sync started, I was like, this is...
Well, no, I'm making a face because I didn't want Helena in the bottom. I want her to win.
Oh no, I don't want her in the bottom either. I actually have completely fallen in love with her. I thought she was so good. It is just because mathematically she has no wins, and if she had been in the bottom, I would have thought, it could be her or Perla. Who knows what's going to happen? And with these two, I was like, this is... it doesn't
from a storytelling perspective, you want that
unless Michaela fully just goes and shits on Brad's chest in the middle of the lip sync. She's staying there.
If you
I would have kept her for that, but
even then,
from right to left, it's Nefertiti's Fjord, but they are lesbians.
I don't remember the Marvel movie of Freya versus Nefertiti, but go off, I guess. I will say,
this is old lady Emma Frost.
The lip sync might have been much more of a neck and neck if Perla was able to move. That's
they commented that she was very weighed down by everything.
I think Perla did not think she would be in the bottom until it was too late to have a second outfit ready to go.
Well, they don't let them change on.
Oh, do they not let them change on?
They don't let anybody change except on All Stars.
On All Stars, they. Funny. Okay, Joel, let me bring it back to US for a second. They let Lexi put on a pair of heels for the lip sync because they were like, we're now having you in skates and someone else not.
Right.
Yeah. Look at they did on season 8 was wild.
Dance with her guitar, and that's like your prop. So I really.
Trixie Mattel's 3K guitar that they made her dance with. We all remember. And then Thorgy going, she gets a guitar prop, and no, it's her actual guitar, Thorgy. That's not a prop. I feel bad because, I would have liked this challenge more if either TS or Tracy was hosting this. But this was Brad's being like, I'm just as good as Andy. I can do this. And Brad says everything with the most robotic tone. And I don't mind reading Brad for it because it's, I don't know, part of his job. You're a host of a TV show. I expect you to be a little more charismatic and have a little more personality. But he says things in such a monotone, blah voice that it just... Even like the kind of jokes that he had, I was like, are you joking? But like the way he says things doesn't always feel, because it doesn't have inflections a lot. It doesn't feel like a joke.
You know how like they're like, use 1 drop of Mio, use 2 drops of Mio. He did not use enough drops of poppers to have the energy for this sequence.
It's also kind of weird that we got him for the challenge and then didn't have him on the judging table to be like, well, when I was in the room with you, this is how I felt about volleying back and forth. Like, for all that I never want to see him at the table, this time would have been the time where I'm like, yeah, I guess you can be there.
Also, why is it possible that very Canadian white, and I mean that in terms of like the paleness and the snow blind reflection, twinks can pull off Charles Nelson Riley glasses so well, and when Charles Nelson Riley wore them, everybody thought he was a grandma. They're the same glasses. It's uncanny. Unfortunately, it's not fair. He could pull them off too.
Baby, they look good on everybody.
No, they do not on me. They make me look like an old person at the library asking you where the bathroom is and if I need a key.
You look like, oh my god?
I look like, oh my god, falling down a flight of stairs. It is terrible.
Anyway, Jonah had a point.
I don't know if this was my favorite challenge. I liked it better on UK6, which we just recently saw. I think it serviced the format for the girls and what they could specifically be looking for better. This felt, in the most loving way, this felt like they were doing the thing of makeover challenges where you just kind of put people wherever you want here. I do think, personally, Helena did do the best. I did feel like Helena did feel someone who felt the most comfortable just doing what they were expecting, but it felt like there was a very nebulous rule brick to be able to put whoever they wanted. Because in not a bad way, I thought Minnie was going to be in the bottom against Perla, especially when Brad talked about you gave very democratic answers, and that's not good, but sometimes we want you to be a little more playful, a little more shady. And not that Minnie did terrible, but it just felt like there was a level of reserve for being aware how you come across. That's great, and it is a very important life skill, but I think they wanted to have her let go a little bit. And I don't know if I specifically got that fully from this challenge for her, but also, like I said, nebulous rubric.
I actually just want to echo what you're saying. I think one of the things that I did notice was that they said to Minnie, you gave very staple, very non-confrontational answers. The thing I think I would say is there's no judging panel more than Canada who gives that sort of middle of the road answer about a lot of things. And so like they might have been dinging it, but I think that would make Minnie a perfect replacement for Brad on the panel, or because it can't be a replacement for Brooke. And I wouldn't replace Tracy. There is not enough. Although, while Minnie is a person of color, there is not enough inclusion of Black culture on permanent judging panels for a show that utilizes so much of Black culture for the basis of the culture.
The only thing I will say is I would consider replacing her with Serene Fox, who is often a guest judge and who is native.
Yes.
And that's also a huge missing thing and really relevant to Canada. It's relevant to the US Excellent. Too, but we are nowhere near acknowledging it. And they, at the very least, are much closer. I also, unless I don't want to interrupt if anybody wants to stay on the subject, but I do want to pivot to this week's emotional heartbreak in the workroom.
Before we talk about the subject,
please,
the one thing I wanted to talk about, because I haven't watched, sometimes I'll watch Roscoe's, but I also have to be careful because Roscoe's sometimes, for people who are watching, love Roscoe's, it's very fun, but sometimes it could spoil specific placements. Sometimes they have people who maybe go home or might be in the top. So just be careful when viewing it, because when they announce guests,
and occasionally they actually spoil something huge just randomly. Like somebody happens to know something. Yeah. And so you do really have to be careful with them.
If you prefer to be spoiler free, maybe go back to watch later at a different point. Anyway, but Brooke said finding this out was so beautiful and fascinating. It was her idea to bring back previous drag contestants and winners as judges. That was her idea that she brought and that they approved, and I love that. It's so beautiful, amazing. So props to Brooke for that. But yeah, this week's thing.
I mean, that's week's thing. Like the fact that this is like a component of this season of Canada, and like, yes, I get that it's always a part of Drag Race overall, and any country's show does this. There's always workroom talk. We always get into people's backgrounds. This season feels uniquely both well done, but also the girls feel really like at their most erudite when they're talking about their horrible issues. It feels like they're done it's captured in a really respectful way. It's not brought up on the stage or ever as like a cudgel to be used in an elimination setting. The fact that we had Jaylene and Michaela there to, Jaylene to talk about both Native experiences and experiences as a trans woman. The fact that you had somebody like Sanjana DeBish Queen who actually needed the guidance, but then she also had her mother there who is not trans. Just this season has been insane for like tackling really important issues that face the queer community, the drag community, the world at large. And they're killing it how they're editing them. The girls are killing it how they're discussing them. It is the magic of this compares to the magic of the chemistry of the girls on UK this season. And UK had a little bit of this too, but they had a whole other thing going on. And I felt like that season was really memorable just because the girls had amazing chemistry, and that was reflected in like 20 different ways. My biggest takeaway from this one, although the girls are incredibly talented and I am going to remember them for a lot, is these conversations. And I don't really even know where to start with how good and important they've been and what that could or should mean for Canada as a franchise, for Drag Race as a business as a whole. It's almost frightening in a way because I would never want the cynicism of the US to encroach on trying to make this happen. And I've hated in the past before we've had seasons like this when they have tried to.
It's one of the things that's made this season so special. I really appreciate your point of I'll remember these conversations a little bit more than some of the others, but in part because the girls they've cast this season have had stories that are a little bit more unique than some of the girls in the previous. Like, I am not trying to be reductive of anything, but there are certain stories, like if I go on there and say, I, as a white gay who might also have some non-ethnically showing elements of minority culture, in my composite DNA,
lineage,
I've been treated poorly. Okay, well, that's many of the girls. Say something elevating of the conversation. But it's also not everybody's responsibility who's ever been through something one of a kind to share that. I'm not going to go on and start talking about my health stuff. That's weird. But like that Willow Pill chose to is beautiful. And it's an element of, Evie, just to say that multiple people have. It is an element of the conversation that is so hard to talk about. Artists giving of themselves is often rewarded, but it's certainly not expected. So when you put it in the hands of producers to remold to the needs of a show, it can come off very uncomfortable. But something that has really happened in this last few seasons of our international Drag Race coverage, whether it's the UK or Canada, is we've seen a real sense of the strength of these people shining through. And I think that's even what we were maybe talking about not seeing so much in the talent show by virtue of what the girls are told to do. They're told to just perform. They're not told to show who they are really. But that's what we're remembering. And I think that's what I'd even say. Tell the girls to do a talent show number that shows who they really are. Not just who they click, clack, clack, up and down the boots, the house down number are. And if that's who they are, great. Then do it at like Lux Noir London levels, and then I'll believe it. But, maybe you're, as my husband pointed out earlier today, maybe part of your charm is that you're a little bit corny. And maybe it's Lucy, and maybe it's let loose, and you're just a little silly. And that's okay. Or maybe you're Sasha, and your magic is that your throwback touch, your retro classic is so perfect that you do Goddess and it's everything. I think that's where these seasons are really, really thriving, and the production of US is not compelling the girls to bring the same level of package. I done went down and broke the show. So then I'm gonna call us.
Give us a lot to chew on.
It's a lot to chew on, and I think also it's one of those things where we're at the tail end of Canada, we're at the beginning of the US. There's so much going on that like we're drawing a lot of parallels that I think won't fully come to fruition until we're a little further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I want to make a quick judgment call, guys. We don't have anything to pick about US. It's too hard. Although I'm telling you, Jonah had pointed out that Jimbo didn't show up for the expected Jimbo appearance.
All Stars 8
and
9.
I wonder if this was fulfilling a contractual obligation, just as soon as she was available. I guess I don't know. But weird, random, didn't feel harmonious. It just was odd. It felt harmonolisa. I bad. So I would love to know who you guys want to see win. I'll kick us off, and I'm gonna I'm gonna kick us off, and I'm gonna send it over to Tori. I would probably like to see Minnie win. Honestly, I think she just represents an earnestness that we don't really see win. The problem is the last truly earnest winner in any franchise that I've watched is Jinx, but Jinx is also extraordinarily talented. So Jinx gets to be earnest and too good at the same time. Deal with it. I would probably like to see Minnie win. I think it's gonna go to Virgo. But I'd really like to see it go to Minnie. If any of these four incredible performers win, it is a win for the franchise. Everyone here is more talented than any four squares on Hollywood Squares at any given time. But I personally would like it to go to Minnie. Tori story. Do in fact share with me the glory of who you think is going to win out of these fours.
I'm kind of with Andrew. I think Michaela's gonna win. I think that she's what would fit best into the Canada pantheon as I know it. But I think crowning Minnie would be a fascinating decision on production side. And I would want to know. It honestly, it would make me be like, I think Canada has more influence on the reins than I thought it did. Because there is a part of me that wonders how separate each of the iterations are from the decision making. And I think this year, watching how All Stars fed into Canada versus the World, fed into Global, fed into UK Down Under, now Canada and the US. I think there's more chatter amongst at least the English-speaking ones on like how we're going to pace out what the winners are. And I think that if Minnie wins, I think we might be seeing that like Canada gets to make its own call more than we thought. So, but also I'd love a Virgo to win. Go Queen.
I love that. Tori, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
You can find me online at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
Although, Tori, I do believe that next week we are perhaps launching something. The now much vaunted, long-awaited, incredibly exciting Drag Race Fantasy Draft.
Whoop whoop!
I'm really excited to do this. It is about celebrating what makes every one of these queens our favorites. It's about talking about some of our favorite moments from the franchises and just saying why we think this gameplay style is so exciting.
Yeah, and we'll run our own talent show and try to defend why this person's talent is worth showing.
And that's my favorite part. This is going to be a celebration. There is no room for negativity here. There is just saying why we love this art form, this game, and this show. And I can't wait to bring up some of those great memories. And Tori, I just want to say nobody did more heavy lifting to make this project possible than you. So I cannot wait to come back and start playing this game next week, where we get to talk about some of our favorite girls of all time.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. You guys, I don't think they can play along at home. We're going to do a pilot program for you all, and then we'll decide if the public wants to play too. We want to show you how good it is before we let you join in.
It's like web TV. The idea is okay, but we need to figure it out before we put it in homes.
Yeah, we're the betas here. We're the betas.
We don't want a Yahoo TV.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of not betas, but a baby alpha, Jonah, I would love to know who you would love to see win this season, who you think might win it, and where everybody can find you online.
So I do think it's going to come down between Virgo and Michaela. I think the show's been a little evident in trying to set that up for us in a way that not their fault entirely, but I would have loved a little bit more mystery. That was maybe the only slight problem, I would say, with UK6. And again, it's really not fair because I'm going to be comparing a lot of seasons to UK6, which ultimately, for the most part, is a really beautiful, amazing season that really only would have been better if it was a double winner, but that's beside the point. But I do wish the show, I say this a lot, is a little more invisible with their favoritism. Not that these girls did anything specifically wrong, not that I think that they should have been eliminated or ever had a placement that I didn't agree with. But it felt like a lot of focus was on them in a way that's like, okay, like, but like, I'm interested in Minnie and Helena. What are they up to? So I do think it'll be Virgo and Michaela, and they're going to be fantastic winners no matter who wins between these four girls. That's where I think it is going to be. My heart and my desire is that Helena is going to win. I don't think she will, but that's who I'm rooting for. But the brain says it should be Minnie's. And if you want to pick my brain, you can follow me on socials at Peak Jonah.
I love that. I also hope you change all of your social media to Baby Alpha. But until then,
he's a baby Z. Don't make him younger than he is.
No. I was being complimentary. I was calling him
that
a big
kind
man.
Of alpha.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of big mans and people I call all the time, KEVO, who's your gal, and where can we find you?
My gal, I seem to be in the same camp as most of us. I really, really, really was impressed by and happy with and for Minnie this season. I also really love Michaela. Virgo Queen kind of fits the bill, and Helena unfortunately does not fit the general common bill. So, I'm not really sure what to expect. Hopefully there will be a fun and interesting twist. But in the meantime, speaking of fun and interesting twists, you can also check out on our channel our coverage of season 3 of The Traitors, which we are enjoying greatly. We did that yesterday, and we're excited to come back for more. We're going to be coming back for more of this next week. I think we said we want to cover Star Wars Skeleton Crew, so that's going to be exciting. We'll have Grey's Anatomy coming back in a couple of months. Lots of really cool and fun things for us this year, and you can find me talking about all of those things over on our socials at KEVO Really. That's KEVOREALLY.
I hit a bunch of buttons that weren't unmute, and then I had to do a lot of work to get back to unmute, and it was just so devastating. But now that I've recovered, and I have recovered with gratitude. Whoa.
With gratitude? Wow.
Mr. TK, accident, on purpose, or elemental, whatever way it should go. I love doing this ridiculous show with you 216 times a week. So I would love to know, not that I'm not going to ask you in 5 minutes, but who do you think should win? And where we can find you on all of the interwebs.
It's funny. You just made me realize something. I was an accidental child, and that's not part of my name, but I should add that into the mix.
Go update that Blue Sky post.
Yeah, truly. Gonna be a hater. It's very important to me that it be anybody but Minnie.
What an ugly person. Everybody boo and
Truly,
throw
I am a
tomatoes.
little garbage monster, Oscar the Grouch,
Wow.
snitch before he's reformed, all the bad people. Yeah, no, it can't be Minnie for me. Anybody but Minnie. I do believe and am rooting for, I do believe it will be, and I'm rooting for Virgo. Though I do agree with Jonah, it has not felt like anything else was going to happen this season besides a showdown between Michaela and Virgo, which I only like. Again, I point to the incredible showmanship of the producers in getting through these really difficult conversations, even down to like Michaela and Xana's fight. Different kind of emotional conversation, but like very important one. And the way they edited all the parts of that, really, really good. So the fact that they, there was, and it's entirely possible, it's reality TV, so who knows? The fact that there was no other way to edit this except for like, it's just Virgos and Michaela's to hold in their hand, and then here come these two kind of underdogs from behind. But the math ain't mathin' for Helena, I don't believe. Though I would be perfectly happy only because I was a complete and total Helena hater for the first half of this show. I did not feel like she was my cup of tea. We are different generations of emo, and I don't love.
I mean, what's the worst thing that you could say? No,
I hate it. I appreciate the reference.
All right, well, so long. Good night.
Yeah, I didn't go for her thing, but then halfway through the show, she just charmed the fucking pants off me, and I've really been rooting for her ever since. I'm really happy to see her in the top 4, although I am bummed that Perla is not here.
Perla will miss.
Yeah, truly, I will miss her. I love her. Maybe not a reservoir tip next time we're doing confessional looks, but you do you if that made you happy. Yeah, sorry, just not Minnie. And if you want to yell at me about my terrible ideas and opinions, please do so at TK Accidental on all your socials.
I've already said who I want to see win. If you guys want to find out more about me, NICO Action, NICOACTION. I actually set up my, so I'm NICO Action at NICOAction.com on Blue Sky. I'm so proud of myself. I worked and like read. And so it turns out if you read, you can do a lot of things. Reading is power.
It's fundamental, I hear.
It is. And like, it's one of those things, like, just like go out and learn. You'd be amazed how many things that like when you're not feigning codependence, you can actually just do. So like, go do. You guys can check out more about my non-feigning musical ability at NICO Action Music, NICOACTIONMUSIC. You guys can also check out more about this amazing show at Husbands Talking More or Less, the incredible podcast. But you guys can also check out the X's for podcast, which covers comics more than anything, but also has all of these beautiful people on it at one point or another. Don't forget to check us out here on YouTube and your other socials at X's for Show, where we cover everything that you love, whether it's reality, TV, sci-fi, comics, movies, music, and more. You guys can also, of course, check out everything we do in our backlog, so don't forget to check out xsforshow.com, etc. But until then, number one, do us a favor, comment, like, and subscribe on everything. That algorithm's a tricky stunner. But number two thing you guys can do for us, you guys got to stay safe. It's a spooky, scary world out there, and then you guys kind of got to be brave, because who you are is what we love so much. And then remember to evolve daily. Who you were yesterday, incredible. Who you are today, amazing. But who you are tomorrow, that's the dream. We can't wait to be there with you. So until then, stay true, north, strong, and United Airlines. Thanks for flying with us. Oh God, I'm done.